in a sense, I get the sense that what might tie this together with some of your writing and the films is this notion of sort of searching almost for the essence of America. Is that?
Yeah, I'm very parochial in the sense that, the 4th of July to me is the most sacred holiday on my yearly calendar. My kids got tired at an early age on Independence Day of me demanding that they listen to me read the entire Declaration of Independence. So I believe in this notion that this is an experiment here on this continent that somehow came from us as a people, that we have been struggling with perfecting, oftentimes failing, but oftentimes trying to move forward a little bit to make it better. And I'm also fascinated by this continent that we inhabit, and what a incredibly very beautiful and huge land it is. And so most of my adult life has been spent either sort of exploring that notion of this experiment that we are still in the midst of as a people and as a nation, and exploring the land that we inhabit, and oftentimes combining both of those. The parks is an exploration of these wonderful landscapes, but it's also an exploration of a very democratic idea expressed on the landscape. I wasn't really that interested in history until I'd been in politics, and then I realized that I was, on a small level, on a state level, I was there when decisions were made that were pointing things in a different direction, and if somebody else had been there or some other decision made, it would have a different outcome, and you weren't sure if it was how it was going to turn out. Well, when you've been in a number of situations like that, and then you pick up a history book, suddenly you can see that the people you're reading about were faced with, not the same choices, but the same situations. They're trying to affect the outcome of history imperfectly, doing the best they can, and I find that fascinating. And so what I'm always interested in historical stories are to be honest. A historical character, if they're one-dimensionally good, is probably full-dimensionally wrong. That those people don't exist, and so something's missing. And the same thing if they were one-dimensionally evil. Verbiage while you're looking at an image.
Right.
And what the historical characters have to say for themselves is very important. What our interviews have to say is very important. And we get accused of sometimes of being fuddy-duddy and slow because, we don't have a lot of quick edits and stuff.
Right.
And it's because we believe that by having that extra time, if you're looking at an image while you're listening to John Muir, as your mind has absorbed that image, you are now you're more likely to absorb what this guy's got to say to you than if you had carved that shot into 25 shots.
Right, sure.
Because your mind still is trying to comprehend that information, and by doing it that way, deliberately that way, we think it also inhabits the moment more, which is what we're all about.
Yeah. If I can interject for one moment, since we're on Lewis and Clark, the scene where he kills himself, I get choked up even thinking about it. It's so moving in that movie.
Yeah.
Why was it so emotional?
Well,
both for you and for anyone.
Well, my kids call me the Waterworks. I get it from my dad a little bit, and at it's easy for me. Easy is not the right word. I'm incapable of not getting sort of overwhelmed by emotion. Joy brings out, tears. Trying to talk about somebody doing something great, whether it's my child or a historical figure, I get caught up in it. If I'm telling something, if I'm thinking about and start to try to speak about something that's sad, whether it's happening to somebody I know or somebody that, lived a long time ago, it just happens to me.
Yeah.
And Ken decided on that film, and it was true in the West as well, and in Horatio's Drive and in this film, that he wanted to treat me the way he treated anybody else who knew something about the topic, which was to sit you in front of the camera and ask you lots of questions. And I often wish that I weren't this way, but when certain topics come up, things that I feel strongly about or tied to, I get emotional. And with the death of Meriwether Lewis, I was talking about, the suicide of a guy who is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to sound too Twilight Zone here, but I got to know him pretty well over the long course of studying him, and went to all the places that he did. And I can put myself there at Grinder's stand and can feel that isolation that he felt of things crowding in around him, and understand his desire for his best friend, William Clark, to be there at that hour of need, and realize that he wasn't going to. And it's a very emotional thing.
Yeah.
And as you'll see in the film about the parks, there are a whole bunch of places where the editors are kind to me, because they keep the blubbering, they ration out the blubbering carefully. But when I'm talking about just the national park idea, I can get very emotional about it.